Intermission time. The borgcast begins in 10 seconds. WDBC Internet Television is back. I'm Michael P. Borgia. The borgcast, originating from deep behind enemy lines, is brought to you by dailyborg.com. Conservative politics for the thoughtful. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. Well, the first big round of primaries are over. 9 states have voted so far. Newt Gingrich has won 1, Rick Santorum 4, and Mitt Romney 4. Mitt Romney with about 107 delegates. Mr. Santorum, his total approaching 70. Mr. Gingrich, fewer than 40, depending upon exactly how non-committed RNC delegates announce their tendencies to vote from one day to the next. So, as the campaign enters a 3-week-long quiet period, who has the advantage? What disadvantages hold the candidates back? Analysis when we return in just a moment.
Hands can do incredible things. Now they can even help save a life with hands-only CPR. If you see an adult suddenly collapse, just call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. Learn more at handsonlycpr.org.
When you drive for a living, you buckle up every time, whether you drive one of these or one of these. Truckers know what I'm talking about, because no matter how good a driver you are, trouble can still happen. That's when you want to keep your safety belt on to keep you steady, behind the wheel, in control, and looking out for everybody. Safety is a professional driver's responsibility. Remember, you're the one who drives for a living.
A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Well, here we sit, a little more than a week removed from Rick Santorum's big hat trick of victories back on February 7th, and with just about 2 weeks to go until the next big round of voting begins in Michigan and Arizona, and we're 3 weeks removed from Super Tuesday. Now, as we proceed forward, one thing that's becoming evident as we wait through this intermission period is that each candidate has major liabilities, and none of them seem able to marshal a great deal of strength. For Mitt Romney, the problem dogging him is the belief that he's not conservative enough. Maybe a little hard for people who really have read his record and understand him to fathom. For some, just the fact that he's from Massachusetts is a big problem. The home of Michael Dukakis, for example, the home of Ted Kennedy, the home of John Kerry. Just having that M.A. come after your name is enough to raise suspicion among many conservatives. Some are suspicious of him because of his faith. We personally think in the collective that that is entirely unfair, but what is. For Mr. Romney, the challenge ahead is to demonstrate to Republican voters his conservative bona fides. As we move forward, the calendar continues to favor him. He's competitive in Michigan and will likely get a near-even split of delegates with Rick Santorum there, even though it looks like we're going to color that state purple next week, when we get to the primary, rather, in 2 weeks for Mr. Santorum. Mr. Romney still retains a commanding lead in Arizona, a state that should overwhelmingly favor him, particularly with the endorsement of John McCain, which he got in New Hampshire. For Mr. Santorum, who is now the co-national leader in many polls, the problem with him, very simply, is the image of a lightweight, a man who, like Barack Obama, has never run anything. He hasn't run a state, a city, a business. He's been a senator and a congressman for the better part of 20 years of his life. Now, we know senators and congressmen are only good at running one thing: their mouths. And that's the problem that Mr. Santorum has with as much as 2/3 of the electorate. We've just spent the better part of the last 3 years, and will spend one more year, suffering under the failed leadership of a man who's never run anything in his life. Do we really want to replace him with someone else who's never run anything in his life? That's the problem Mr. Santorum will have to overcome. Having the vision thing is just not enough if you don't have the wherewithal to implement that vision. Rick Santorum must convince all of us that after running nothing of note his entire life, that he's qualified to run the world's biggest government. That in turn brings us to Newt Gingrich. His baggage is well documented. Going into Florida, he was destroyed by the very weapon that made him a contender in the first place, the debates. He performed very poorly in the debates in Florida, and there has been precious little opportunity to recover. There will only be one debate prior to Arizona and Michigan. There are only 4 remaining on the schedule, and none of them are on Fox. One is a PBS event, the others one on NBC, and 2 on CNN, which means that viewership will be somewhat more limited. So for Gingrich, the challenge is, after having lost his cool, to get his cool back in what few debate opportunities there are left. Now, should Gingrich survive and continue to keep this, what is in effect a 3-man race, because Ron Paul will make some noise, but he's not really a contender. Should this remain a 3-man race, more debates will be scheduled. There will be more on Fox, and particularly as we near the critical Super Tuesday 2 in April. More debates would probably be a real good thing, because right now, each one of these candidates, as far as the electorate is concerned, has a great deal to prove, and none of them have cleared the hump as of yet. We'll be back with more in a moment.
My uncle called, speech all slurred, complaining his arms numb. He called everyone. He even called my daughter Tiara because she's got a year of nursing. Everyone thinks he needs to go to the doctor, including me. So he said, well, will you take me? I'm like, I'm on the road. He goes, I'll wait. Stroke's no joke. If you or someone you love have symptoms of stroke, don't wait. It may be too late. Dial 911.
What if I didn't come from a famous family? What if I didn't have all their support? What if I didn't have all these opportunities? Believe me, it wouldn't be pretty. Pause before you play.
Well, while the Republican candidates each try to overcome their own perceived negatives and advance themselves as a credible opponent to President Obama, or to President Obama himself, who has his own problems. There are only 2 ways forward for the president in this campaign. 1, destroy his Republican opponent under $1 billion worth of negative advertising. Or, as we wrote in this week's feature article, create a fantasy world in which the president is perceived as credible for what has gone well, blameless for what has gone wrong, and make things seem as though they're something other than they really are. Like persuade the American people just long enough to believe the unemployment rate is really falling. Though when you add up the actual raw data, we find the unemployment rate is not 8.3%, but 9.2%. Gallup now is reporting it at 9% and rising rapidly, up 0.7% in the last month. There are many other examples. You can read them on our front page article. But for Barack Obama and all the candidates, major obstacles remain if they have any hope of being declared the winner in November. You have been assimilated.